As item number 4, special business or order, a proposed resolution requesting His Excellency Rodrigo Roa Duterte to declare a special non-working holiday in Naga City on August 18, 2020 in observance with the death anniversary of our former City Mayor and DILG Secretary Jesse M. Robredo. Another, Madam Chair, as requested by the Honorable Del Rosario, as item number 8 of the new business, the proposed ordinance mandating the establishment of community learning hub for every barangay in the city of Naga to assist the Department of Education in cascading its new normal approach, providing guidelines and mechanism for its implementation and for other purposes. Also, Madam Chair, as requested by the Honorable De Rosario, the proposal from Kusug Solution pertaining to the COVID-19 cloud monitoring and tracking software. I so move for its approval, Madam Chair.
Any second? Okay, approve. Next item.
The proposed resolution requesting the President of the Republic to declare August 18 as a special non-working holiday in the city of Naga.
On joint
and collective
joint
motion,
and
Madam
collective motion, approve. Next item.
The
Item number 2.
Proposed grant of honoraria to barangay volunteers. Proposed ordinance.
Honorable Lito Del Rosario.
Madam Chair, considering the new developments that have come out, and I think other members of the Sanggunian have yet to read yung latest na mga issuances, I think we have to also engage and discuss this with the Mayor. So I think during the break, Madam Chair, we discuss this with the City Mayor. So I move that we defer consideration of this matter.
So defer about the presence of the city accountant and the city budget officer. We
just
requested
asked-
that they be present.
We just asked them to join us in the discussion during the break or any appropriate time for us to really discuss the content of this and the just issued issuances, Madam Chair. Thank you.
So thank you, Honorable Del Rosario. This matter is deferred temporarily and will be discussed during the break. Next item. Thank you, our city accountant and the city budget officer. Please come back during lunch. Next item.
The presentation of the Liga President and SK Federation President with respect to the establishment of community learning hub in the city.
Who will present? Honorable Kylie Tripulca. Pakadigli na. Hindi pa. Honorable Kylie Francine Tripulca.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Morano.
Mayor Nelson and to the August body, good noon. So, the Community Learning Hub po is a distance learning alternative device due to the COVID-19 pandemic. From the words of Her Excellency VP Lenny, she mentioned that the main idea of the Community Hub is that in areas where there is poor internet signal or no internet signal, they have a community to go to without the need to commute, and the children can use the computers, download and print their lessons. So she also added that these hubs will also provide free tutorials to students on particular subjects. This is the third phase of the Bayanihan Drive launched by her office as the country's educational system shifts to distance learning approach due to the coronavirus pandemic. So with regard to the process, the OVP looks for partners for the establishment of community sites where community learning hubs will be situated. The OVP asked for donations from different ABLED sectors of used, yet working computers and gadgets. For gadgets that can be fixed, computer technicians also volunteered to fix and troubleshoot hardware problems. As to the substance for transition to distance learning, She said that she already talked with UP School of Education and to different teachers that they see that the gadgets are not the only ones needed in this kind of project. And as of the moment, the Office of the Vice President continues to coordinate with selected local government units, namely Pasig, Naga, Kamsur, Tanay, Rizal, and parts of Negros Occidental for the establishments of these community learning hubs in their respective LGUs. The main purpose of the community learning hub is to, number one, bridge the gap of continuous education amid this pandemic in areas where internet access is poor and gadgets for distance learning is insufficient. And second, to aid for transition to distance learning, most especially to families whose parents are out for work and their children are left with no one to assist them during online classes. And to add, there is also a website where students, teachers, and parents can access instructional videos for distance learning launched in the name of Bayanihan Eskwela. That's all, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Kylie Trifulca. Based on the report, ano na? Honorable Miles Secretario.
Thank you, Honorable Tripulca. I understand, Madam Chair, that the import of the task that we have requested the Liga ng mga Barangay and the Sangguniang Kabataan Federation to undertake is to present to the Sanggunian how we may be able to implement, maybe in partnership or even on our own, the idea espoused by the Honorable, by Her Excellency, the Vice President of the Republic of the Philippines on the establishment of the Learning Hub. Personally, Madam, the Sangguniang Kabataan Federation and the Liga ng mga Barangay would spearhead and lead the implementation of this idea in the city of Naga. So may I request, Madam Chair, if the discussion at the legal level in these two ligas have already reached that portion of the city actually implementing the community learning hubs in the city. Thank you, Madam Chair.
May we request the, okay, Honorable Greg Abunal.
Madam Chair, in the last two sessions, I mentioned that about a month ago, we received communication from the Office of the Vice President regarding the community learning hubs that is now being mentioned. The communication indicated that the Office of the Vice President was communicating first with the DepEd Naga regarding the matter. But in the last time that the superintendent was here, I inquired about DepEd reaction to the matter. Wala po namang sinabi. I took it to mean that like previous proposals, baka pinag-set aside lang muna nila. So I communicated with the coordinator ng Learning Hub proposal regarding the DepEd reaction to the matter. Kasi sabi ko, ang LGU Naga is contemplating on the matter. Ngayon, ang reply is na 2 o'clock tomorrow daw mag-conference sila with DepEd Naga. While it is true that we may have original ideas, our concept of the matter, I think it would be good to consider what the OBP's vision of the matter is, kung ano ang arrangement nila before we act on this. Tomorrow naman ma-finalize yata with DepEd whatever DepEd is going to do with this. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Greg Banal. Anybody else? May we ask the Liga, the two Ligas, as to the query made by the Honorable Miles Saquidaroyo?
Good morning, Madam Chair. Para po sa barangay level, kami po, ang pagtabang mi po sa gabos na pigi-imponer kang City Government na bababa po sa barangay, yaon po ang samuyang pagtabang. Ini po nga ning alternative learning system, haloy na po ini, nagtatao po ning ayuda dyan ang mga barangay. Ini pong community learning hub, siguro po dahil po ang ALS twice a week man lang po sinda nagkaklase, may mga aldaw pa man po na sarado po pirmi ang ALS center, baka po pwede tamo na pong magibuhan paagi na iniyo pong modular na iniyo ining community learning hub po. Maitay po na po duman sa samuyang learning center habang po na mayo pa po kami ning laagan para sa sainda. And siguro po kay puan mi po siguro mag-purchase ning mga computer set and mapakusog po ang internet connection. Dahil po baga iniyo pong community learning hub po, sabi po ngani na si mga mayo po ning internet connection. Pero po sa barangay may internet man, kaya lang po minsan po talaga dahil nagpo-function talaga ang internet connection. Tama po kung yaon suba ako si tulong provider ta. Na naaraman po nila na kaipuhan ng marayang sa indang ang sa inda po niya na assistance para po digdi sa community learning hub po.
Okay, Honorable Del Rosario.
As a matter of fact, we have already prepared an ordinance for this purpose, Madam Chair, and this is to answer the concerns of Councilor Miles as to the community learning hubs. And we also expanded it because the community learning hubs only deal with yung problems sa mga remote areas. In Naga City, we also deal with other concerns. So this is already incorporated in the proposed ordinance, which we hope to be discussing the Committee on Education the soonest possible time, Madam Chair. This is in tandem with Councilor Dodit and Councilor Kylie and Councilor Greg, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Del Rosario. So, we just wait for the ordinance being drafted by the Honorable Del Rosario with regards. It's already in calendar? Okay. So, next item.
The letter dated July 29, 2020 of Mr. Raul Oliver, ITO Head, addressed to Honorable Elmer Baldimoro, requesting time to present the recommendations on the proposed plan to conduct sessions and committee hearings through video conferencing technology.
We acknowledge the presence of Mr. Raul Oliver and so rules is suspended. Okay.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and honorable members of the Sanggunian. During the last committee hearing po kang Committee on Rules and Privileges, we were asked to come out with a possible solution for video conferencing for the Sanggunian to cover its hearings and its sessions and committee hearings. This is our recommendation. If you give us 20 minutes if we can go through the recommendation. But with your permission, I'd like to ask our network engineer to do the presentation. Then I'll just go to costing later on. So may I therefore introduce to you Mr. Elmer Claveria. He's our network engineer working on network engineering of the city as well as online education and this video conferencing proposal.
Engineer Claveria.
Hello. Hello. Maray na aga po sa Indagabos. Madam Chair and Councilors po. Okay, so before we came up with a solution po, we considered muna po yung internal layout po ng session hall. At the same time, the existing equipment that we are currently using. So if you look at the layout, ini po si positioning kang mga seats and tables, saka kung saan located po si sa tuyang mga councilors and the presider. And also we consider the location of where the cameras are and where the display is projected. So another thing that we also considered are the interactions between the actors inside the session hall. So the presider usually kita ma'am nakaharap po sa mga councilors, and then a councilor while speaking can be easily captured by the camera while standing. Although sometimes may blocking po pag nakatukaw, so the best po na nagtitindog po siya para mas nakakapture po ang camera. So ini po limitation na lang po kang location kang cameras kung saan po nakatutok. So nagkakaiba pong blocking minsan. And then sometimes we also invite resource person. So normally he or she occupies this current location. And sometimes the interaction is between councilors and between resource persons. Dyan man po si location katong audience booth. And then sometimes if there are privileged speeches and presentation, duman po nakatutok sa podium, ay sa rostrum. So currently we have a conference system sa Laog po Concession Hall. And yung first task po na tinausa mo, how can work from home councilors and resource persons interact while having a session inside the SP session hall? So we looked at some of the solutions available, and dapat po si mga resource persons and councilors that are outside the session hall will be able to interact. So we can use mobile devices like laptops, smartphones, and tablets. And then from there, they can collaborate with us from anywhere. So basically, mama po kitang ibang choice but to use internet connectivity. Now, our approach is to, yung popular mantra is to do not fix which is not broken, but in this case, we're going to tweak lang po. Since we currently have our discussion system, ini pong Lexus Audio na conferencing system, we'll utilize that and add additional components, like for example ining Logitech Rally, which is capable of having interactions not only within the room but also with resource persons and councilors, which will be working from home. Now, so sa current layout po, we utilize the current setup of the discussion system and add the Logitech camera and other components. The location of the Logitech camera is arbitrary po, since this can be installed sa ceiling, or it can be also placed on a tripod on our own choosing po na mas appropriate, or we can add additional cameras. And then the system can also accommodate small group meetings sa conference room ta po. So in this case, the setup might be like this one. The system is capable of from 10 seats up to 46 seats, depende po sa room. And this system can also be relocated on other room configurations. Just to give you an idea po, ang sarong system costs at around 182. Complete system na po siya, may speakers, may hubs. So depende po sa configuration kang room. in this case, the SP session hall, would only require 2 components from that set. Si camera lang po, saka itong hub, yung video hub. But for conference rooms, like this one and the SP conference room that we have, yung complete set po ang kaipuhan. So aside from that, we will be looking at software solution po. So what online video conferencing features are we looking for? So as mentioned a while ago, members should be given access to current documents posted sa SP session hall. So they should be able to present documents, slides, and spreadsheets. They should be able to share. Each member given this technology will be able to see schedules, may be able to record, may be able to host large meetings. Using this system, pwede po kita nang like what we're currently doing, the CEPU is currently doing, na naka-broadcast siya sa main channels sa social media. Pwede po siya. And then another capabilities, we can view and edit documents together. So if you're working from home in front of your laptop or gadget, you'll be able to see what is being projected sa screen, and you'll be able to, say, input a comment on a particular part of the document. So pwede po. So, and send and messages. So this is common na po, yung pag-send ng messages, photos, and document. So our choices, currently, yung Google Meet, it works on web browsers and apps. So it does not require us to install software on our system. We only need web browser for that. It is secure and capable of online conferencing. Kaya lang, heavily reliant siya sa internet connectivity. It is also integrated with Google Calendar. Those resource persons and members who are not capable of joining online can also dial in using their phones. So by audio, pwede siyang maki-interact sa session gamit si landline niya or si cellphone. Pero siyempre, mayo po siyang video feed. Pero pwede po siya sa Google Meet. As to the pricing and features, fortunately po ang City, although yan si presyo po kang Google, malaog po kita duman sa pricing nindang almost $10 per active user per month. But because Naga City fortunately has a legacy G Suite account, and when we explored the features of the legacy G Suite, it is capable already of Google Meet. So yung mga new contracts na malaog sa INDA, yan may bayad. Kita po, medyo sineswerte. May dati po kitang G Suite, although not 100% utilized. So only some of the members and the personnel are using yung domain tang @naga.gov.ph. So since igwa na kita, so virtually it is free yung Google Meet sa tuya. So pwede ta na pong gamiton siya. Another software that I'm going to introduce, itong Jitsi Meet. The Jitsi Meet will allow us to have internal and external video conferencing. So we can have inter-department and intra-department meetings even without internet connection. So from the comfort of your office, kung gusto mo pong apudan si sarang department and that if you want to see him on the screen, pwede po siya ining Jitsi Meet. And this is open source po, downloadable. So pwede ta siyang i-save sa servers takang ITO. Sorry. Sige po. Next. Yan. But unfortunately, this would require us a more reliable local area network connection. Currently, as evidenced by the presentations a while ago, hindi reliable yung copper as a medium. Halos gabos pong telco nagta-transition na to fiber. Di po sa Naga City, we only have copper connections in between departments and offices. That's why my current proposal nga po to upgrade our internal network to fiber. So if we're going to have this infrastructure, we may be able to seamlessly utilize the free technology ng online conferencing within the Naga City network. Although this is also capable of allowing outsiders to join in via internet. Next po. So, for the session hall setup, we will be requiring one Logitech Rally camera, a wireless router, such that when a member has its own laptop and would like to interact with the system, pwede siyang mag-connect duman sa wireless router. Since iguan na po kitang existing equipment na sa PC, projector, speaker, so data na po siya kay Puan i-purchase. So this is for the SP session hall lang only. And kasi may mga, yung sa SP conference room po, kay Puan ta po si complete set. Kasi mayo po kita duman TV, speakers, and microphones. So ini po, may microphone pads na po siya. I-interface na lang po siya sa laptop. Next. Then if we're going to install this also to CMO, capable din po siya. Since similar po si room configuration kang SP conference room, similar din po si approach sa solution. And then we can also install this sa Blue, as a SEPIO, may conference room din po kita duman sa Blue Room. And then sa PSO training hall. So it is up to us na lang po kung i-redundant po si pag-purchase kang equipment or pwedeng permanent po for every room. And then, yan, as I have said, we currently have a G Suite. When I looked at the consumption, only around 20% lang po ang utilization takad to. So sayang po, may libre po kitang software at our disposal. Maximum of 500 free accounts lang po ito. So pwede ta pong piliin kung si Sai po ang pwedeng ma-providean katong accounts na ito. For the costing, siguro po si Sir Raul na po ang
Ano ko lang po so just to summarize po, Madam Chair and all members.
Okay, Honorable Del Castillo.
It's quite a large amount of money. The session in committee hearing of the Sangguniang Panansod is governed by rules. We have an internal rule of procedure we follow. So, di pwedeng may nagtataran, may masabad-sabad man na saro. So, how could we control that sa araw kayo na sitwasyon? Na, halimbawa, may nagtataran si Harong Konsyal,
May mabatin.
di pwedeng magtaram si iba. Unless, pwede lang interrupt is the presiding officer. How could we control that? Kung araw kayo na video conferencing. Because you cannot control anybody.
Oo, dahil na.
Iko-control po nito itong halimbawa, sa work from home.
How could you do that?
May mamalagong controller digdi. Si Tin will be the controller for the entire conference. Pagkatapos po, so si mga araw po kayong instances can really be controlled by the controller. Tapos pag ginaling po nindo ang itong Apple, ito devices pagka po nindo. Although depende lang kayo sa tuyan, if you are using video conferencing software, mamailin po ka naman nakamute. So ma-mute lang ka mo.
doing an either
Conference or session.
session or committee hearings. One of the member raised a point of order dahil iba na si Pig-uurulayan kaysa duman sa calendar of business. How would you deal with that?
So, saan po, ano po si...
Yeah, alam mo, subject matter are kami. But some of the participants are already dwelling on other issues. And a member raised a point of order to make the discussion focused only on what is on the calendar of business. How would you deal with that?
Allow me po to respond. Almost all software na available po sa market has a functionality of raise hand. So similar to what we're doing here, kung gusto ta pong mag-interrupt sa discussion, tinataas na po ang kamuta.
What I'm referring to is when somebody raises a point of order. What I mean by point of order, halimbawa ang Pig-uurulayan, inilang topic na ini. Pero ibang nagtaram na luwas na sa topic na ini. So, anybody can raise a point of order so that the discussion focus on the one. How would you deal with that?
The ordinary session po, bago po kita na-raise ng point of order, we ask the permission of the chairman, so we raise our hand. Opo, yes. Opo. So, from those who will be working online, sa work from home po, the controller will be notified that this particular person would like to speak. So, she will grant the permission. So, yung audio po natin, maitututok po duman sa person na mataram from home.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Maybe to help explain, yung program po, the software, igwa siyang feature na kung gusto mong magtaram, mag-participate sa discussion, ma-raise ka ng hand. Yaon po yun sa program, igwa po yun maluwas na gano'n nagre-raise kang hand. And igwa rin po siyang kakabit na chat. Kasi kung dakol kaya, yes, kung may nagre-raise kayang hand, tapos point of order, like the Honorable Raul said, pwede mo po siyang sasabayan ng chat para maaraman kang ang control dapat ang presiding officer. Siya ang makakahintayan kung si Sen nag-raise ng hands. And sasabayan siya ng chat, tangarig maaraman mo kung ano si purpose. Kung point of order, iinuton mo siya duman sa mga nagre-raise ng hand. Kasi maaaraman kung control si Sen mga nagre-raise kang hand. Kung mayo po kita gabos, kung halimbawa di kita arampangang gabos. No? Pero kung itong dinagdag yung presentation na nagharampangan man kita, but there is someone na gusto mag-participate, gusto tang madangog, halimbawa which is not in the room, pero gusto tang madangog magsali sa discussion, itong dagdag na feature na present nindo. Although ang initial thinking really in the amendment of the rules is to allow the sanggunian to meet in a session na face-to-face in response nga sa COVID or any other similar situation, or allow also committees to meet without being face-to-face. Pero naugma ako din man sa dagdag nindong feature na pwede kitang makaset up in such a way na maski face-to-face kita, pwede kitang igong madangog, makabali sa discussion na mayo digdi sa session hall. So, I think that's a good one. Mayo yun duman sa idea ko initially, Madam Chair, in the proposed amendment in the rules, but that could be included. Tangarig, kumbaga, may dagdag na resource sa discussion, may dagdag na information kita sa discussion. But the concern of Honorable Del Castillo is responded in that software. I have experienced that, Madam Chair, and in fact, that's what's going to be used by the university now in teaching. Sa College of Law, Madam Chair, yan ang gagamiton kang, although ang UNC will be using Blackboard, yan ang sa indang platform, pero kita mas appropriate would be Google Meet. You know? So, it responded itong concern ni Councilor Del Castillo, Madam Chair.
It can also answer ito pag kung minsan na pinapaabot ka mga department at the outside city, pwede siyang mag-reply. Dahil na kita mahalat sa iya, na pwede na siyang mag-reply to rules, miski mayo siya dito within the vicinity of the city hall. Mas magayon ito. Miski dahil sinda mag-period day, basta Pwede kasi ka po that through ano na lang. Phone, they can use the phone, di ba? Stay outside sitting this one. Okay.
Information given to us is really very useful. Like, pa lang kitang existing infrastructure for
So,
more
pwedeng
interaction sa City
Yes
Hall,
po.
pero dahil
Yes.
yes. nagagamit. So,
Ah.
dapat siguro gamiton ta siya.
In fact po, if we're going to look at our recommendation, because sabi na, recommended thing is if we're going to implement video conferencing at City Hall, we use two platforms, Google Meet and Jitsi, not Zoom. Ang Zoom kaya po may bayad ka pa.
Yes.
Ang Google Meet po, mahal yan. Kaya alam po, since, if I'm not mistaken, 2001 or mga middle of 2000, ikaw na po kitang Google account good for 500. That's why you have email addresses. Nang nakalag po is naga.gov.ph. That's a Google account. So we have 500 accounts. Kaya lang po, kung gagamitin tayo, then mangyayari lang po, all of us, or all councilors, must have a naga.gov.ph email account. So libre man po yan. So that's going to be your official email address.
That's good. Okay, Inaba Perez?
Yes, sir. That's why ang proposal po, the total cost po para sa gawos is, ano na ito sa cost? 1.5, but pagpailing po nito sa costing, if you're only going to implement this for the Sanggunian, around 684,000. That includes the session hall and the conference room.
So, ini lang. Tapos,
Yes, 684,000 po is for equipment and for for networking, si session hall at saka si conference room. Kung kumapong itang equipment, di ba?
Dahil maano. Maasa kita sa mga internet provider. Maliyaw. Okay, any other questions, query,
Po,
clarification?
kukumasnak po. Ay, di, pwede nasa ito po yan, sir, kung gusto nyo i-cover o dae. Pwede ba virtual? Para pumiling po niyo 684, actually kasi po dyan pwede makamit ang galon. It really depends on you. Kaya pwede mo lang po duman na si last page. Ayan po ang cost kayan. So kung halimbawa, session hall lang, around 202,000. Pagkaibanan po ang conference room, 282,000. Tamas na ko kaya pong equipment ng kaipuan sa conference room, tamayo pong mga equipment. Makakadagdag lang po dyan, yan pumailing po nindo, video conferencing server na 200,000. That is if you're going to use Jitsi. Pero kung ano lang muna po, di pa po, yung video conferencing server for the entire city government, entire city hall complex.
1.3. Pareho ang specialization sa training hall.
Halimbawa, Madam Chair,
Okay.
halimbawa pag mayo na si COVID, no? So we go back to normal. can we still use those equipment?
Yes,
Dahil
yes sir.
masasayang, dahil
Actually po, bako man lang ini pang COVID, if the Sanggunian wants to do video conferencing at any time,
Just as I've said, kung mayo si mga department head na pinapaapod pa, dahil ma-appear igdi, we can still, they can still join us and give us the necessary information na kaipuhan ta. Dahil ita nahalato na magdigdi pa siya.
ayun po, that's also
We
one
can use that.
advantage.
Yeah, oo. Saro
Dawa nasa market, nasa Manila,
Nasa
they
Manila,
can serve
may
as
hapot
resource
kita.
person.
Dahil na pwedeng sabihin na dahil tayo titreat si matter, mayo si mataong information. Diba? Mas maray na to na nakukuha ata miski mayo si presensya ninda, pero they can still communicate with us. Can give us the necessary information we need for the
Sure,
session.
pwede na akong mag-google.
Okay, Honorable Miles Secretario. Mas magayon ang
Move
boses ko
forward
pag
on this matter because the matter is pending with the Committee on Rules. May we move that we direct the City Budget Officer to present to the Sanggunian possible source for the cost presented by our ICT office.
Any
Thank you.
second
Thank
to
you,
the
Madam
motion?
Chair.
Okay, approved. So this is pending with the Committee on Rules, but the Secretary, SP Secretary is trusted to write the Budget Officer as to the source of funds. Thank you, Mr. Oliver and Engineer. Ano pa kami? Okay, next item.
The letter dated July 29, 2020 of the Honorable City Mayor requesting for enactment of an ordinance authorizing him to institute an expropriation case against Ms. Rosita Rotsa for the purpose of acquiring a 4,190 square meter portion of property in Barangay Balatas. We also received the certification from the budget officer that the amount of 214,118 and 40 centavos is available for obligation for this purpose.
Okay, we have taken this up last session, but was pending because of the source of funds, as requested by the Honorable Del Castillo. Honorable Del Castillo?
Considering that the lacking document for the passage of an ordinance, granting authority to the mayor to exercise the power of eminent domain in behalf of the City Government of Naga, joint and collective motion, I move that we pass an ordinance
Authorizing the
exercising the power of eminent domain of the City Government for the acquisition of the property of a certain
Rosita Rocha.
In an area of 4,190
square
square
meter.
meter located at Balatas, Naga City, and identifying the source of fund for the payment of at least 15% of the fair market value based on the latest tax declaration of the said property.
On joint and collective motion?
The source of funds is the
Local Development Fund.
Madam Chair.
Okay, on joint and
So,
collective
joint and
motion?
collective motion, Madam Chair.
Okay, approved. On joint and collection. Next item.
The report of the joint hearing conducted by the committees on infra and land use.
We will render the report. Infra. Okay, Honorable Vidal Castillo to render the report.
Madam
Okay,
Chair, may I request
Before you
acknowledgement of the
report, may I
report?
request the Honorable Rosales to kindly preside.
Okay. Honorable Ring Rosales, may I request acknowledgement of my committee report?
Your report is acknowledged.
There was a quorum when the Committee of Infrastructure Joint Committee with Land Use conducted a committee hearing, and there are 3 items taken up during the committee hearing. Number 1, letter dated July 7, 2020 of Bisano, the City Mayor, the City requesting to authorize him to negotiate with Jose Manalang for the purpose of acquiring the said 5,192 square meter portion of the property located Barangay Concepcion, Pequeña Naga City. Mr. Chairman, may I go directly to the disposition? On motion of Honorable Mila S.D. Raquel Arroyo, seconded by Honorable Joselito del Rosario, the committee resolved to recommend to the Sangguniang Panansod to pass a resolution authorizing His Honor, the City Mayor, to negotiate with Mr. Jose Manalang to acquire the 5,192 square meter portion of his property located at Barangay Concepcion, Pequeña, City of Naga, for the proposed establishment of the San Vicente Dalipay Bypass Road. So I move, Mr. Chairman.
Any comment? Objection? There being none, the resolution is approved.
The second item, Mr. Chairman, letter dated July 22, 2020 of Engineer Alexander N. Canning, Acting City Engineer, submitting the site vicinity perspective in the plan for restoration of the parking space along Panganiban Drive. May I go directly to the disposition, Mr. Chairman?
Please proceed.
On motion of Honorable Salvador M. Del Castillo, seconded by Honorable Joselito del Rosario, the committee resolved to recommend to the Sangguniang Panansod to pass a resolution approving the concept of the project for the entire Panganiban Drive as submitted by the City Engineer's Office, with subject to the submission of the master plan for the entire Panganiban Drive. So I move, Madam Chair. Mr. Chairman.
Comment from the Honorable Del Castillo.
Mr. Chair, I think another disposition was missing. The authority for the mayor to enter into an agreement with other parties with regard to the construction of that proposed road. I think it was missed out in the report.
The resolution.
I clearly remember that this is one of the disposition of the committee. A resolution authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement, particularly with the provincial government of Camarines Sur, in the proposed for the proposed project of the road leading to Milao.
San Vicente Dalipay Bypass Road.
I think that was missed out.
So two resolutions authorizing the city mayor. First, an authority to negotiate with Mr. Jose Manalang, and another authority to negotiate with the provincial government of Camarines Sur. Is that right, Honorable Del Castillo? Is that what you were saying? Honorable Arroyo.
No, the resolution authorizing the city mayor is for the negotiation or enter into agreement with the provincial government of Naga, not with Mr. Manalang. Because we said that even before we decide to acquire the property, since it's only a portion of a bigger project, which other parties are involved, we have to firm up the agreement with other parties involved. So the authority is not to negotiate with Mr. Manalang, but negotiate with the provincial government and other parties involved, like the municipality of Milaor is also involved in the implementation of that project. So the authority was for the mayor to enter into agreement with the parties involved in the project.
So there is an amendment to the disposition, Mr. Chairman, considering that this report was made by the Secretariat, not me. So I was reminded that Attorney Marcelo Arroyo is correct, that we should negotiate authorizing the city mayor to the provincial government, not to a certain Jose Manalang.
So the authority is to negotiate with the provincial government only, and other parties affected in this project.
Okay.
Okay.
As amended. Number 3, Mr. Chairman, first endorsement dated December 19, 2019 of His Honor, the City Mayor, the City...
There was no disposition yet with the second item.
As amended.
Itong sa Panganiban.
Okay. The queries of Honorable Del Castillo is in number 1, not number 2.
Yes. So please proceed, Honorable
Okay.
Castillo.
Number 3, first endorsement dated December 19, 2019 of His Honor. This is 2019 pa. The City Mayor, the City requesting to reiterate the installation and reinstallation of street names within the vicinity of Tapas and Mariano Village subdivision.
Yes, Honorable Arroyo.
On the second item,
Yes, ma'am.
because the disposition is to recommend approval of the proposed design.
Of the Panganiban Drive.
Yes, but I remember that we said that there should be no trees planted to obstruct parking in the designated parking areas. So I think the recommendation should be as amended based on the discussion in the committee. Kumbaga, bako itong as submitted to us. Kasi duman sa as submitted, the plans, Mr. Chair, mas malaag din ng mga trees, duman mismo sa agyang kang mga car na mga park, duman sa mga parking spaces. So sabi taday na dapat paglaagan ng duman, di ba?
Yeah.
So,
Okay, Attorney Mars, the City Engineer's Office made a plan, approved that they will follow according to our approval. But we just approve because there is a duration, there is a time, because the fund will be from the national.
yes.
But
So we
however,
are-
Attorney Del Castillo, during the committee hearing, there must be a complete plan from the beginning to the end. And they will agree that they will present again the complete plan. However, because of the duration, because the fund is coming from national, we approve in the committee hearing. Subject for the compliance of our request.
Okay. So when it will be implemented, we will be given the chance to look at the design again.
Yes, during the implementation, they will present again the plan na ito na ang gusto ta. Bako itong sa inda.
For the entirety.
For the entire Panganiban.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
So the resolution approving the concept of the project for the entire Panganiban Drive as submitted by the City Engineer's Office is
Yes.
approved and subject to the submission of the master plan for the entire Panganiban Drive.
Okay, precisely.
Next
Last
item.
Mr. Chairman, endorsement dated December 19, 2019 of His Honor, the City Mayor, the City requesting to reiterate the installation and reinstallation of street names within the vicinity of Tapas and Mariano Village subdivision. May I go directly to the disposition, Mr.
Please
Chairman?
proceed.
On motion of Honorable Salvador M. Del Castillo, duly seconded, the committee resolved to recommend to the Sangguniang Panansod to refer the matter to the city engineer for further study and recommendation, especially the specification of the signages to be installed. So I move, Mr. Chairman.
Comment? None. This matter is referred to the city engineer.
That's end my report. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Castillo. Next item.
The report to the Committee on Housing and Settlements.
The Honorable Mila Arroyo, Chairman of the Committee on Housing.
Acknowledgement of the report of the Committee on Housing and Settlements for hearing held on August 5, 2020.
The report is acknowledged.
The committee deliberated on 8 items, Mr. Chair. Item number 1, letter dated July 14, 2020 of Engineer Rolando Campillos, Head Housing and Settlements Development Office, requesting for a resolution authorizing His Honor the City Mayor to enter into a deed of donation agreement with Casareco II for the donation of various electrical distribution systems installed within the city's resettlement projects for purposes of unburdening the city of its maintenance and rehabilitation expenses. May I move directly to the disposition, Mr. Chair? The body resolved to recommend to the Sangguniang Panlungsod to grant the request of the Housing and Settlements Development Office for an authority to the city mayor to enter into a deed of donation with Casareco 2 for the city's various electrical distribution system in the city's resettlement sites, subject to the ratification of the Sangguniang Panlungsod. So we move, Mr. Chair.
Any comment, objection? There being none, the resolution authorizing the city mayor to enter into a deed of donation is approved.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. But in the crafting of the deed of donation, it should be specified that the purpose is not for unburdening the city, but for better delivery of electric power service.
In the deed of donation?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
That is subject for ratification by the Sangguniang.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Arroyo.
Item number
Proceed.
2, letter dated July 6, 2020 of Engineer Campilios, Head of Housing and Settlements Development Office, endorsing the request of 10 informal settlers in Barangay Dinaga for assistance to acquire the lot occupied by them. May I move directly to the disposition, Mr. Chair? Disposition, the body resolved to defer the matter and give the occupant families 1 month to choose whether they will pursue the lots awarded to them at Liberty Village or they will pursue the efforts to acquire the lots presently occupied by them. So we move, Mr. Chair, that we write the occupant families that 1 month is being given to them to decide whether they will pursue the lots awarded to them or pursue the efforts to acquire the lots being presently occupied by them so that the city can assist them as they are requesting such assistance. So we move, Mr. Chair.
So this matter is deferred and the Secretariat is so instructed.
Item number 3. Where is item number 3? Yeah. Letter dated July 16, 2020 of Mr. Danilo B. Ludovice, President, Naga City Urban Poor Federation Incorporated, requesting for ratification of the Memorandum of Agreement between the Naga City Government and the Naga City Urban Poor Federation Incorporated. Together with this matter, Mr. Chair, is the letter dated July 3, 2020 of Ms. Rebecca B. Corpus, Administrative Officer, Naga City Urban Poor Federation Incorporated, submitting copy of revised program and budget of their organization. May I move directly to the disposition, Mr. Chair? The body resolved to defer the matter pending the submission of the revised program of activities that will be funded by the amount covered in the MOA in conformity with the policy of the city on what activities are not allowed in this present budget year. So we move, Mr. Chair, to defer the matter.
This matter is deferred.
Second disposition, the committee further resolved that as part of the oversight function of the Sanggunian, the HSDO is directed to submit a report on how it has performed or intends to perform its task of implementing partnership with the Naga City Urban Poor Federation Incorporated in carrying out programs and activities for the urban poor sector. So we move, Mr. Chair, that we direct the HSDO to submit such report within 5 days from receipt of such request. So we move, Mr. Chair.
So the Secretariat is so directed to coordinate with the HSTO.
Item number 5, letter dated July 13, 2020 of Attorney Rebecca Grace Maraño, Attorney 3, City Legal Office, requesting for the passage of a resolution ratifying the Memorandum of Agreement between the City Government of Naga and Enrique L. Lee and Teresita L. Lee concerning their properties. I move directly to the disposition, Mr. Chair.
Please proceed.
The body resolved to defer the matter pending information from Dr. Teresita Lee on the following. 1. Proof of Dr. Lee's right over the property for which benefit a portion of the city's socialized housing project is requested to be bought by her. Number 2. What development will be introduced in the said adjoining property? Will this development not be disruptive to the present use of the area, which is as a resettlement site? And 3. Is there no other property which could be used as right-of-way of this adjoining property? So we move, Mr. Chair, that we write the City Legal Office requesting information on the questions clarifications on which is sought by the committee. So we move, Mr. Chair.
The Secretariat is so directed.
Item number 6, letter dated July 3, 2020 of Mr. Jose Blas Henson Jr., Regional Administrative Officer of Jamaica Realty and Marketing Corporation, submitting copy of recommendation and certificate of completion issued by the HLURB relative to the Cokeville subdivision project, which is attached with the attached deed of the nation. Disposition, the body resolved to recommend to the Sangguniang Panlungsod to refer the matter to the city engineer for its evaluation and appropriate recommendation. So we move, Mr. Chair.
This matter is referred to the city engineer for evaluation and recommendation.
Item number 7, letter dated March 5, 2020 of Ms. Emeline A. Corpus, heir of Dominador B. Alarcon, submitting an addendum relative to her request for transfer of land title in her name. So the property is our resettlement project, on-site resettlement project in Peña Francia. May I move directly to the disposition?
Please proceed.
Considering that proof of the death of Dominador B. Alarcon and the original grantee of socialized housing program of the city located at Barangay Peña Francia, Naga City, and the conditions for transfer thereof to Emeline A. Corpus having been satisfactorily met, the body resolved to recommend to the Sangguniang Panlungsod the passage of a resolution granting the transfer thereof as applied for. So we move, Mr. Chair.
Approve.
Letter number 8 and last, letter dated January 8, 2018 of Ms. May L. Sumayop for transfer of title of the land owned formerly by Mr. Dominador B. Puntejos, also located in Barangay Peña Francia. Disposition, the body resolved to deny the application on the ground that the applicant is not the original transferee of the subject property. So we move, Mr. Chair.
Application is denied.
That ends my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Arroyo.
The two reports of the Committee on Land Use.
Honorable Arroyo.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. May I request acknowledgement of the report of the Committee on Land Use.
Your
for
report is acknowledged.
Hearing held on August 3, 2020. There were 4 items deliberated upon by the committee. Item number 1, letter dated July 2, 2020 of Mr. Wilfredo B. Prilles, City Planning and Development Coordinator, submitting the technical evaluation of the document submitted by Engineer Emeterio Aman, Proprietor Manager of Aman Engineering Enterprises, relative to his application for preliminary approval and locational clearance of the proposed Naga urban residences located at Barangay San Felipe, Naga City. Considering the absence of the applicant, Mr. Chair, the matter is deferred. So we defer consideration due to the absence of the applicant.
Matter is deferred. Next item.
Item number 2, letter dated July 6, 2020 of Mr. Wilfredo B. Prilles, City Planning and Development Coordinator, forwarding the document submitted by Mr. Richard T. Rocha, Vice President for Operations, LYRR Realty Development Corporation, containing information regarding the socialized housing compliance of LYRR relative to the approval of the development permit of the proposed Deca Homes Granville 3 located at Barangay San Felipe, Naga City. As found by the committee, Mr. Chair, the compliance is consisting of 248 units covering 16,124 square meters in its project called project na ni. The compliance for Granville 3 is located in its socialized housing project in Langon Vista, and consisting of 248 units as certified by the City Planning and Development Office. So we move, Mr. Chair, that we pass a resolution approving the applied development permit for Deca Homes Granville 3.
Approving the application and development permit for the proposed Deca Homes Granville 3. Approved.
Item number 3, letter dated July 1, 2020 of Mr. Wilfredo B. Prilles Jr., City Planning and Development Coordinator, forwarding the document submitted by Mrs. Irma Bagasina relative to her application for land reclassification of a parcel of land located at Barangay Bacolod City with an area of 50,000 square meters. May I move directly to the disposition?
Please proceed.
On motion duly seconded, the committee resolved to recommend to the Sangguniang Panlungsod as committee of the whole. Mayo kitang forum.
Since
Okay, Mr. Chair. May I move, Mr. Chair, that we first convert the Sangguniang to committee of the whole so that the matter may be disposed. And such approval, ano tawag kayan?
so
And such approval retroacts to the first item.
this body is hereby converted as a committee of the whole, and the earlier resolution is approved as a committee of the whole.
And confirming the dispositions in the first three items.
Yes, please proceed, Honorable Arroyo.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, on motion duly seconded, the committee resolved to recommend to the Sangguniang Panlungsod to return the matter to the City Planning and Development Office for its re-evaluation and to conduct and validate on the actual status of the subject land based on the certifications issued by the NIA, the DA, and the DAR. So we move, Mr. Chair.
This matter is referred back to the City Planning and Development Office.
Item number 4 and last, email letter of Engineer Alexander Canning on the proposed ordinance on lot donation of roads and alleys, and considered as open spaces in subdivision projects. Disposition, Mr. Chair.
Please proceed.
On motion duly seconded, the committee resolved to recommend to the Sangguniang Panlungsod to defer consideration of the matter pending the submission by the city engineer of its comments on the proposed ordinance. So we move, Mr. Chair.
This matter is deferred. Thank you, Honorable Arroyo. Yes, for your next report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I request acknowledgement of the report of the Committee on Land Use for public hearing held on August 3, 2020.
Your report is acknowledged.
The subject of the public hearing, Mr. Chair, was the letter dated January 24, 2020 of Mr. Wilfredo B. Prilles, City Planning and Development Coordinator, submitting the technical evaluation of the document submitted by Engineer Virgilio B. Luansing I, General Manager, MNWD, relative to his request for rezoning of a portion of parcel of residential land located at Zone 3, Sitio Pagdaicon, Barangay Mabolo, this city, to be developed into industrial zone. May we move directly to the disposition, Mr. Chair?
Proceed.
Madam Chair. In view of the fact that no opposition or adverse reaction from among the nearby residents was raised against the application, and based on the manifestations of the CPDO and the written report submitted by it showing compliance with the requirements for rezoning of lands in the city of Naga, and as previously found by the committee to be complete and in order, this committee shall recommend to the Sangguniang Panlungsod to approve the application of Engineer Virgilio B. Luansing, the first General Manager, MNWD, for rezoning of a parcel of residential land located at Zone 3, Sitio Pagdaicon, Barangay Mabolo, City of Naga, to be developed into industrial zone, subject to the following conditions. First, a road maintenance fund shall be included as project cost, and the amount thereof shall be certified as appropriate by the city engineer prior to grant a building permit. Number 2, mitigating measures shall be installed to prevent the flooding of adjoining areas by reason of the development that will be introduced therein. This measure shall be reflected in the plans and designs of the project before a building permit shall be granted. Number 3, no waste of whatever nature shall be dumped into the Bicol River or anywhere without clearance from the city enro. Number 4, the equipment and trucks that will be utilized in the development and operation of the facility for which the reclassification is sought shall be within the load capacity of the Pagdaicon Road as certified to by the city engineer. Number 5, no road obstruction shall be caused by the development and operation of the purpose for which the reclassification is sought. Number 6, the noise level shall be maintained within levels safe for the residents surrounding the facility. 7, the operation of the facility should redound to sufficient supply of potable water within its immediate community, which is Barangay Mabolo. So these are the conditions, Madam Chair, of our approval to rezone that residential area into industrial use for the construction of surface water treatment facility of MNWD. So we move, Madam Chair.
Any second? Approve, but it should also include the city and Roco for his information kasi we have
That's
recommendation.
the next disposition.
Yes.
The committee further resolved that copy of the ordinance granting the application, which shall contain all the above conditions, be furnished the city engineer for its information and appropriate action. So we move, Madam Chair.
Okay, any second? Okay, comment, Mr. Honorable
I'm
Anderson.
seconding the motion. However, I would like to add, Ma'am, one, na just in case mag-comment sa sindakang mga trabaho, yung mga labor naman sa Mabolo ang
Oo, 70%.
na capable and willing, i-absorb man nila.
Okay.
Additional.
So number 8
Number eight,
condition,
please. Thank you.
that in accordance
Labor.
with the existing ordinances of the city, kasi ikaw na po kitang ordinance kayan, the manpower required for the construction and operation of the project as intended be sourced as available from Barangay Mabolo itself. So we move,
Okay.
Madam
So,
Chair.
any second to that? Okay.
That ends my report.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Honorable Marjorie De Royo. Next item.
The
Okay, we take a break for, we take a... Okay.
The report of the Committee on Public Safety.
Committee on Public Safety.
Madam
Honorable
Chair,
Del Rosario.
I'd like to request acknowledgement of the Committee on Public Safety report.
Okay, your report is acknowledged.
There was a quorum. Only one item was discussed. Letter of dated June 19 of Engineer Rebecca Roses of the DPWH 3rd Engineering District submitting comments relative to Barangay Resolution 2019 90 of Concepcion, Pequeña. Attached in the discussion was the resolution of Barangay Concepcion, Pequeña. Protection of children and Sangguniang Barangay of Concepcion, Pequeña for the approval of the implementation of the first protective yellow zones for children and women. As to the disposition, Madam Chair, the body resolved to recommend to Sangguniang Palunsod to request the PSO to coordinate with the PNP in the finalization of the route plan of vehicles in Greenland and Sister Therese subdivision and to request comment from the DPWH. May introduce po kayang traffic rerouting duman sa lugar, and before we approve it sa Sanggunian, we'll be asking lateral coordination between PSO and DPWH and the PNP. So I sumove, Madam Chair.
Any second?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Approve. Thank you, Honorable Del Rosario. Okay, lunch, break for lunch.
12:50.